Hey, what's going on? So, we have this Karcher pressure washer here, 2650 psi, Karcher, I don't know how you say it, but it's on the table. And the problem is, it has no compression. So I'm sure you know what that feels like, so I'm not going to demonstrate it for you, but basically you just pull on the pull cord and nothing happens. So I think what we're going to do is a couple things. One, I want to see if the piston's moving up and down, because if the piston's not, there's really no point. And first we're going to check the oil. And if all those are good, we might be looking at the valves. So go ahead, grab something to eat, and then let's get started. In general, pistons have to go up and down for this to work, so if it doesn't, that's a problem. And generally, they will do that even if there's no anything working. There's only one reason why it wouldn't, and that's bad. Plug actually looks pretty decent. Not too horrible. So, there's going to be a couple ways of doing this. I'm going to go with taking a screwdriver, cleaning it, because there's no need to put dirt in this cylinder if we don't need to, and pulling on the pull cord. Okay, piston is almost on the bottom of its travel. Yep, piston goes up and down. So, that's good. Oil. Wow, that's the first time I've ever gone on one of these that wasn't like super tight. It's not the perfect level of oil, that's for sure. But it's not low enough where I think it would have grenaded itself. So there's always that. We might just continue on to our valve exploration. So, unfortunately, this is going to be the one that doesn't have a gasket. So we're going to need to pry this up because it has silicone, and then reapply the silicone if that is indeed our problem. If it's not our problem, it's a bad motor, we're just going to put the cover back on. Owner of this machine is cleaning out an estate of somebody they knew, and this is in their shed. I know literally nothing else about it. I'm going to put a plug kind of in here, just a couple threads down. Like I said, try not to introduce any dirt if we don't need to. We might remove that later if we want to make it easier. I can already tell from right now, someone's been in here. And that's because this just came off. And the silicone is completely dry. So let's take this in. I've had a couple of these recently, I'm not sure why, where it had nothing to do with the valves, but the rockers were bad. They don't look bad. They don't look bent. There's not like a super large amount of discrepancy from so right now it should be okay, well, let's look at the level of the valve. It's not looking good. Now, this valve has an insane amount of play here. This one, not so much. So, starting to wonder if that's our problem here. Because if we had a tight valve, that could be a problem. but these are far from tight. These are way too open, in fact. So what I'm going to do, I have a video on how to clearance Honda valves. So I'm not going to go over that in depth, but basically this should be at, I believe, 6/1000 and this at 4/1000 of an inch. You just take these little nuts off or loosen them and twist the center down. I prefer to do 5 and 7 because when you tighten the 10 millimeter nut down on it, it generally has a tendency of losing 1/1000 of an inch, and you're just going to be going back and forth, getting frustrated. So if you make it big to begin with, well, it should be fine. Okay, so I took off the rockers because I noticed this valve, I don't know how well you can tell, is higher than the exhaust valve, and that makes sense because the exhaust valve was way out of adjustment. I took a little WD-40 and I sprayed it on the valve stem, and it's been about, it's been a few minutes. I don't really know how long it's been, but it's been soaking. So I think what I want to do is very gracefully want to give them a few left taps and see if I can't get it to continue on. Now, the cam isn't touching anything, especially since the rockers are off, so we don't have to worry about that, but so I can see it kind of getting stuck. So I'm going to let it soak for a little bit longer, and we might have to take this apart. I really hope I don't have to. Yeah, there we go. Oh, there it goes. It's getting a little better. That's actually where I want it to be because it's almost flush and level with the next one. I'm going to spend a little time and then just doing that, make sure it's nice and free, put more oil on it, stuff like that, and I'll be back. I cannot tell you how many times with this specific style of motor I have had to do this. There must be something weird with the guides. I don't really know, but I feel like it is way more often than with any other Honda, and more specifically the horizontal variation of this motor. Yeah, see, right now, there's like no clearance. So, I'm going to go ahead and clear this, and then we'll see if there's any more compression. Okay, let's take out the plug. I'm going to put my finger there so I can feel everything. Still having an issue. The valve got stuck again. Well, I did feel it, so I'm going to spend a little bit more time doing that. My apologies. Apparently I didn't actually have my microphone on. Anyway, point being is I took the muffler off and I put a little WD-40 on the valve stem that I can see. In addition to that, I also took the spring off, and with the piston all the way up. Some people say you can also use air compressor and pressurize the cylinder. I'm not a fan of that idea. I've seen that done happen a few times on cars, but I'd rather not worry about that. Anyway, the reason why the piston has to be up is the valve should be touching the top of the piston. Then I sprayed on the, because at that point in time where the valve is a lot thinner on the top, where the valve stem is a lot thinner, I'm able to spray more lubricant in there, and that really got it going. I've been able to spin it over 10-15 times already, not having a problem. So I'm going to put everything on and we'll see if this runs. More likely than not, we're going to have carburetor issues, but that's going to be beyond the scope of this video. I want to see that the compression issue is fixed. So we're going to cheat and just put a little bit of help in there. I re-gapped it. It is on. It runs. There you go. Now, I don't know if I do that a couple more times if the fuel pump is going to pick up the fuel and shove in the carb, and the carb would be clean enough. Don't know yet. But it runs. For giggles, let's do it one more time. I need to find my little red straw thing. Well, look at that. It runs on its own fuel. Great. I'm happy. So, like I said, spray the inside of the valve on the exhaust, put the piston all the way up, push the valve all the way down until it touches it, coat that, then pull the valve up and down a few times, get the oil nice and in there, and eventually that valve guide is going to free up, get all the nasty crap off of it, assuming that's what it was. And if it wasn't, if it's something on the exhaust port, then that valve, the WD-40 help clean it up a little bit. So if you have a low compression issue, you notice one of your valves is pretty low, or you're going to have to adjust it an insane amount. Before you adjust it, see if the valves are level. They should be at top dead center, and take it from there. Well, I'm going to leave you at that. Follow me on Instagram at smallengine101. If you like what you see, definitely keep watching, subscribe, put a thumbs up if this helped you out, because that definitely helps me out. And I'll catch you on the next video. You have a good night. And one final thing, I need to put new silicone to valve cover. I didn't do that. I just wanted to use this for testing, so I'm going to do that now. But just know I did put new silicone on the valve cover, so it's not going to be leaking. Anyway, have a good night.